Hey guys, Scott here with a new beer dissection video. What I have this afternoon is from Belhaven, Black Scottish Stout. Okay. Um, I'm familiar with Belhaven Brewery because I think I even did a whole video on Scottish Ale. So if you are interested, go under What Is Style. I do a whole thing on Scotch Ale and Scottish ales in general. I think I had a Belhaven Scottish Ale there too. Or I think I did a beer dissection at the tail end of it, like I usually do in my What Is Style videos. Never had this one before, Belhaven Black Scottish Stout. While I'm thinking about it, I did do a video, of course, on the famous Guinness Irish Stout. So under What Is Style, go through the history. I mentioned this to you guys because some of you are interested in, or you've told me you're interested in some of the history and some of the backstories to some of these beers. I do not have any backstory on Scottish Stout, though. I actually didn't quite realize it was its own style. It's not in the BJCP, but I wonder if it's going to taste a little bit like Guinness, or it's going to be a replica of the Guinness Irish Stout instead of being Scottish Stout. This is from Dunbar, Scotland, and it's coming in at 4.2%. So very sessionable, like even Guinness is. I think Guinness is about 4.2, 4.3. And so again, Belhaven Black Irish Stout, smooth, deep, distinctive. And it says it's on nitro. All right. So my buddy was out visiting a weekend or two ago and picked a few of these up. So again, Scottish Stout. We will see if it's very close to Irish Stout. It's around the same ABV percentage. We will see. And that's it. And it's under nitro. So remember, if you are interested, again, in the Guinness Stout, I do a whole thing of What Is Style and Irish Stout. I talk about nitrogenated beer and what it does, and the difference between nitrogen and CO2, at least a little segment on it. I try not to kill you too much for those of you that don't like the history as much or don't care for it as much. But we'll see how much this one matches up with the Irish Stout, the famous Guinness Irish Stout. So let's crack this bad boy open. And you may not be able to hear it on camera, but it must have a widget similar to the Guinness Stout, because I just heard the nitrogen being released, and I wouldn't be surprised the patent ran out on the widget, which I talk about that in that Irish Stout video on the What Is Style with the nitrogen. And I'm sure all of you watching this, if you're a beer geek, you've had Guinness and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So this one just kind of, when I cracked the can open, did the same thing. So let's pour this out. We'll see if we get the similar cascading that we do get with the Irish Stout, the Guinness Irish Stout. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this. Seems like it's still working a little bit. Let's take a quick look. Only about a half inch ahead. I think it's going to build a little bit. I think I may have had one of these about a week or two ago before I was reviewing it. And I think the same thing happened as it settled. Believe it or not, it wasn't. The head was building on it, but about an inch, half inch, pretty white, dense head. Not as thick as Guinness. This is one thing I should mention. Dark brown, if you want to say a darker copper to brown. Definitely not black. It could look black to you guys, but I would say just kind of a dark brown color to it. It is kind of clear. I can kind of see through the bottom of it. So even though it is dark brown, some of you, I wouldn't argue with someone that said black, because it does say Belhaven Black, but it really is not a black beer. It's kind of like a dark brown. I could even argue on the one edge, I can kind of see my reflection coming through it. It's kind of more like a darker copper color. Okay, but as I'm sitting here, I'm taking a look at the head. Definitely did not get the cascading like we do with Irish Stout, Guinness Irish Stout. Okay, and the head, we're not getting really that much, thickening from when I first poured it in there, but that's pretty much it. So let's take a sniff of the aroma, guys. you know, you got a little bit of that burnt aroma. Like a little slight, like a kind of like a dark chocolate. Okay, but burnt, ashy maybe. Probably ashy is a little bit better than the chocolate descriptor there. Kind of like an ash, burnt roast. Okay. Burnt nuts, almost like if you burnt some walnuts, sometimes you kind of get that roasty, dank, ashy type of aroma, almost like you're smelling like the ashes from a fireplace. There's a slight dark fruit character to it. If you want to say like a fig. But it smells pretty nice. I mean, it smells similar to Guinness with the ashiness to it, the roast, but pretty much it. No, not getting an herbal component, nothing floral, nothing, you know, hop-wise. But again, it's kind of like a, just kind of an ashy roast, you know, roasted, you know, overdone walnuts you left on the stove a little bit longer. You kind of get that kind of aroma to it. But anyway, guys, cheers. Low carbonation, which you would expect, especially with nitrogen, right? Nitrogen is not going to, you know, it's going to release its gas a lot quicker. It's not going to give you any really carbonic bite. Kind of smooth, kind of medium mouthfeel. Though it is pretty thick, kind of like Guinness. Like Guinness, the mouthfeel is medium at best. I'm trying to get the aftertaste as I'm talking about this. Kind of the mouthfeel is medium at best. Remember, even though it's a dark beer, it's not like a milk stout or cream stout, which is me fuller bodied. This, let me talk about the aftertaste first, because as I'm talking, you get kind of this nice roasted, like pignoli nut, pine nut. Still kind of ashy, little bit of chocolate. And slight roast. Not going to hit you like some other stouts are going to hit you, like some imperial stouts, which will blast you with roast and espresso. This is not quite like that. You kind of get like a roasted nut, ashy. But there's something kind of nice, almost like there's a little bit of like a toffee, you know, flavor. Like, yeah, you kind of had that nut with a little bit of toffee, caramel on there. Almost like it was a hybrid of a Scottish ale with a stout kind of mixed together. That's kind of what you're getting. Nice sweetness to the malt. Pretty medium, you know, moderate to pronounced bitterness. Definitely not like, you know, a West Coast IPA bitterness wise, but definitely hop forward. Malt forward. Creaminess to it. Pretty nice, guys. I do get kind of that slight dark fruit character, like you got either fig, but again, I'm still getting kind of roasted nut, like a nutty, sweet, maybe whether it's a little toffee or caramel. That's kind of what I'm getting on there, on the taste buds. But very low carbonated, drinking very easily. I can tell this is a crushable beer, not only because it's at 4.2 or 4.3%. So, like I said, it's kind of drinking like a cross between a typical Irish stout, dry Irish stout, with like a Scottish ale, which is probably would be right up the alley with this particular brewery, Belhaven. Again, I'm even going to say the body on it is even more on the medium-low end of things. But it's really nice that light ashy roast with that kind of roasted nut kind of flavor to it that I'm getting on this. Not like espresso and things like that, coffee. There's no coffee in this or sweetness, residual sweetness to it. It is drinking like a dry Irish stout. The only thing I'm disappointed in was because it was nitrogenated. I was hoping to get a little thicker head, a little more cascading, that you'd see the spectacular visuals that we get with Guinness, which we did not get, even though I thought we were from the sound of it when I cracked it open. But guys, this is actually pretty outstanding beer. Again, really not any hop character that I could really, tell, other than that low to moderate bitterness. I think I said moderate to pronounce. I'm trying to get it. Probably have to drink 2 of these before I do the video. But again, there's that nice subtle roast, maybe a slight coffee, not espresso. It's not that rich, nutty, toffee, but very nice. Grade, guys, I definitely have to give this for drinkability, enjoyability, a solid A. Compared to Irish Stout, if this was trying to be like a dry Irish Stout like Guinness, I'd have to bring it down a little bit, A minus, B plus. But that may not be what they're intending to. I like, in the BJCP, the Beer Judge Certification Program, I do not believe, unless they added in the latest edition, and it went over my head, that they have a style that's specifically Scottish Stout. So I got to believe they're trying to mimic an Irish Stout. There's a lot of things that I would enjoy better than Guinness. I just think that nutty, light coffee roast and that with that little ash sweetness kind of is really nice. Guinness sometimes is just kind of sitting there in that ashiness, light roast type of character. This kind of has a little bit more flavor, a little bit more sweetness, and a little bit more, almost if they were decocting mashing, which I don't know if that's what they're doing, that you get a little bit more of like a toffee caramel layered on top of that ash and roast. So anyway, guys, today's beer dissection was Belhaven Black Irish Stout. I definitely would recommend this nitro, especially if you like stouts, if you like Guinness. This is a nice, curveball to change up your normal repertoire of beer. So out of Dunbar, Scotland, and that's pretty much it. Again, Belhaven, which many of you are familiar with their Scottish ales, which I do recommend too. Look for that video. Maybe if I remember when I edit this video, I'll tag at the very end here coming up in a few seconds. All right, guys, till next beer dissection video, have a great day. Take